For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and welcome back to the Brian Cole Story, episode 19. Brian, I think we discussed this last week just a little bit. We're stopping at 20. In next week's episode, I think we're gonna probably just do kind of like a recap. So I think today we'll be able to kind of get us all caught up in the Brian Cole Story to where you are now. And that was the whole goal, right? Is start from the very young little Brian. To where you are now. And then next week's episode, we'll probably do a kind of a recap, just an overarching theme of the takeaways from your story, and then probably start discussing what the plan is for you and I going forward. But before that, welcome back, man.
Hey, good morning.
How's your week?
Really good. Always, there's always wrenches in the cog every week with something, but the overwhelming majority is awesome. Had a good couple of weeks with the revival services going on, and so it's all good.
Yeah, and actually we're recording this on, because we air these on Sundays, everybody knows that by now, and we usually record them on Wednesdays. It's actually Friday right now because like a few minutes before we were supposed to do this, something kind of came up here at the house, so I had to do that. So thank you for being flexible with that. So where did we leave off? I think we're about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, we kind of left off, at the church here and some of the things going on. So I'll kind of wrap that all up today as far as what's, been going on here and what's going on at present. So as I said, one of my other jobs up here part-time for a while was at Crossroads Outreach. I still am a volunteer in Crossroads. We do the addictions program, the elementary program with the guys and girls. So that included working in the jails and stuff up here, and it was pretty awesome. More God sightings were there, because the jail up here in Ashland County had absolutely wanted nothing to do with me at all coming in. You're on probation, and we can't have you. And but God moved in their hearts, and they called me in at one point, and I had been going to all the, I don't know what they call them, judicial meetings where the judges and DAs and the county workers and stuff get together and they talk in these meetings. And I started going to all those and just talking about Crossroads and what our objective was up here and how to help those with addictions and all that kind of stuff. And so started getting in with them, and they started to get to know me and what we were about. But anyway, the jail eventually called me in and had a talk with me, and pretty much gave me a key to the jail and let me come in anytime I wanted to visit anybody.
And more importantly, let you leave anytime you want.
Yeah, that's the most important. Yeah, but even the lieutenant there at the time was he'd call me or he'd text me or something, or when I was there and he was there, he'd say, "Hey, I want you to talk to this guy over here. He needs to hear you," and all this and that. So kind of like the POs do. When you're on probation or parole, you're not really supposed to talk to other people on probation or parole, but the PO that I had up here was kind of recommending people to talk to me. And so that God was moving in the whole area up here. And the same with Hayward. Hayward wanted nothing to do with me coming in because I was still on probation or parole, and that's some of the rules jails or prisons have. If you're on probation or parole, you can't come in. And it was just last year, I believe, when Hayward finally let me in, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we need you here." So I've only been there a couple times. But in Ashland, they shut down volunteers coming in during COVID, and they still, all these years later, have not opened their doors back to us yet. So state employee meetings, all that kind of stuff, and working with all that up here. And at one point, we have this huge area in the back of the church. When the church was here before I came, they had like a food pantry back there. They have people come in once a month or something. They have a food pantry, and they have food pantries in Cable here and up in Ashland. So we decided we were going to use that for a youth area. We tried the youth thing, didn't really work out.
Why?
But there was, I don't know. I think most of the kids, they don't live in town here, and with all the sports and everything, I think the parents are like, it's just one extra trip and whatever. So, we tried family nights and all that. It didn't really work out. We did have a youth group going here for a little while. And we did have one girl who was coming here to by herself to the youth group. I don't know how you would say that in singular, but anyway, she got saved here just two Wednesdays ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
so that it's worth all that. But anyway,
Amen.
so we had this big area, and from the time I've been here, there's been an influx of homeless people and people getting out of jail or prison and having nowhere to go and all that. And it's like, you know what? I met this guy Steve in jail, and he was going to be getting out, had nowhere to go, didn't have nothing but the clothes that he wore there. He was in the process, his wife was divorcing him. I think he was in like a 6 OWI or something like that. Wife was divorcing him, took the kids, nothing. And I'm like, man, you know what? We have this huge area back here. So I talked to the elders about it, and we're like, let's let people live here. So we took Steve. Steve was our very first person. We took Steve in. We got a bed back here and a dresser and set it all up back there as a living area. And to this day, Steve, it's been probably 5 years since that happened. And almost immediately, Steve, man, he got in with the Lord, and he was doing really well. He ended up getting his kids back, got a house, got remarried. He ended up being regional manager of the service master up here in Ashland, and now he's in another job and doing well and driving a car a whole lot nicer than mine. And we always he just came here a couple weeks ago to see me and showed me his new system, his stereo system in the car, because we're both thumpers. We got the bumping music. We're those people you hear a mile down the road. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, that makes sense for you guys because you're also, Harley drivers or loud motorcycle drivers. So
sure.
Right. So if you're not on your motorcycle and I have to be in a car, you're still going to hear me coming.
Gonna bump. Gonna vibrate the stuff off.
Right.
And then my old had a Ford Thunderbird for a while, and I actually thumped the rearview mirror off that windshield a couple times. But anyway, so he was our first guy, and since then we've had multiple people, and there's been a couple of them have done really well, and we ended up stopping doing that because we needed the area back there for that youth group, because we ended up having some kids, and we didn't want to stop that ministry because it was, it's a need up here, man. And even though we can only do one person at a time, it's a need. And that's someone to help. Yeah. So we're like, let's do a tiny home or something. And, the town of Drummond was all right with that. But they're like, well, you got to go through zoning. And I went up to the zoning, and they gave me a stack of paperwork. Like, I'm not doing that. So what about a bus or a mobile home? So we have a guy here who works with a bus company. Ashland Bus Company actually donated us a bus. So we are working on that bus right now to turn it into a tiny home and park it back here in the woods, because we still want to help people. So that's been a ministry here other than the bike ministry. During the time I've been here, I have performed a marriage, not married. Right. Performed a marriage for probably 4 of my ex-youth. Yeah, when I was a youth pastor in Stanley, Wisconsin. So that's been really awesome, man, seeing these guys where they're at in their life and being able to have the honor of marrying them. And Pastor Mike, my mentor, still my mentor, 13 years I've been with him, and I'm still with him. Matter of fact, he seems like we have a string attached to us, because he came up here. He was actually our director and CEO at Crossroads Outreach for a while, and now he is over at Spider Lake Church as our discipleship pastor and running the Hope House, which is a men's home there. So we're still 13 years later. He's still tutoring and training me and schooling me, and I go to him with when I have major questions about how things are done here at the church, and I need a shoulder to cry on, but he's there. As far as the church itself, man, the last year we became a Converge church. So we are under the umbrella of Converge Great Lakes. Kind of like the E-Free Church or Assemblies Church or whatever. They're not governed by them, but they're an umbrella of that organization. So people want to know, some decent churches to go to. Like I always did when I was out and about, I would look up, evangelical free churches in the area, and I would trust those churches because most of them are ordained or licensed through that. So I know where their theology is at. So we are a Converge church now. We just don't really advertise it. We're still autonomous. We still do our own thing, but we have their resources that we can use. As of earlier this year, probably just 2 months ago here, we were given ownership of the building and land. that was part of our mother church's deal. Like they were kind of waiting. The last thing was for us to go under Converge, and once that happened, they turned everything over to us. So we are now
What does
an
that mean? What does
independent.
this mean?
It just means that we're our own church now. We're not run under Salem Church in Ashland anymore. They still support us. They still support some of my salary and all that. But we are our own church. We own everything here. We're on our own.
Oh, hold on a
So
second. So why would Salem still pay part of your salary if they have nothing to do with that church anymore?
well, they still do. What I'm saying is they wanted to give us ownership of all this stuff here.
Oh, got
Um,
it.
and they were kind of waiting for the final thing, which was for us to become a Converge church to do
Okay.
that. But no, they still support us. Matter of fact, we had enough funds come in here last year to pay my full salary, and they're like, no, let us keep you on the budget, and we'll be sure. And that's my feeling too. It's like, maybe let's say 3 years, if we're bringing enough in to pay my salary, which we talked about last time, ain't much. Then we can talk about cutting those ties, but let's not be premature with that and cut the ties and have it not
Yeah,
happen.
there's always ebbs and flows, and
Yeah. I mean, why? I mean, they're willing to continue to support us, and
right.
why not? It's there, but we don't have to take it, and we end up sending back what they pay me.
Yeah.
Basically, we pay this place pays over half my salary right now, and so anyway, we're just becoming more and more our own, more and more independent. Attendance has been up, which is why I'm coming off the road now. Sometimes what we talked about last time, Biker Sundays, we're packed out in here, over 100 people, standing room only. And, some Sundays we're 50, 60 people. Most of the time we're 30 or 40. Wednesdays, we're still building that. For a couple of weeks there, it was packed out. But like last week here, we only had probably 15 or 20 people in here. I say only, but that, 15 people, that was the population here when I first came here. And so that's going. The Wednesday night services that we just started here. We do schooling classes, what's called Tuesday University classes. We've done that pretty much since day one. So in the fall and spring, we have sessions where we'll do a theology course, or we'll do a church history course, or a cult and occults course, or a Bible study tools and methods course. My mentor, Pastor Mike, taught me to to equip and school people properly. And so I've always taken that on here. So I am always pouring into the people so they get the knowledge themselves. They're not just listening to some knucklehead pastor up here and believe in what he says.
Yeah.
I'm teaching them how to get into the stuff themselves so they can know themselves. And if I say something wrong up there, which I do, I'm still learning all this, man. I don't know everything. Then they can look into that stuff themselves, or if they have a question, they come say, hey, I have something you said, blah, blah, blah. So we do schooling classes. And one of the cool things that happened out of this little church is a few years back, we did an abortion service, basically. And we had a lady come in who had been running around in her thoughts about starting a pregnancy resource center in Ashland. And so I had her come in during the service and kind of talked about what her idea was, and did a service about what the Bible says about life, about what God thinks about life and stuff like that. And as a result of that, not me or this place, but the result of God working in people, the Shawamigan Pregnancy Resource Center started in Ashland, Wisconsin here, and the person that started it, who is in Ashland, Elaine. She's the one that came and spoke, but then our chief guy here, man, Tom Garnett, he felt a calling. There was a couple people felt a calling during that message that they needed to be a part of that. And Tom kind of left the board at Crossroads and left, his leadership position here and went there. And he basically got everything off the ground. He started a board. He put all the forms in for being a nonprofit organization and all that. And Tom just died here a couple months ago. A great loss. But and then one of the ladies from our church, she ended up being the director of the place. And so as a result of God's working here, things like that are happening in the area. And again, nothing to do with us or the Oaks. That's all God, but that's how God's working here. At one point, I don't know if you're familiar with the 700 Club, but the 700 Club had contacted me and wanted to do a story on me, and a couple of really cool people came up for a whole week and stayed up here, and did a story about. I said I'll do the story, but I'm not going to do it unless my mom does it, because people need to hear my mom's story about how I'm here because of her and her prayers. So my mom was part of that. So that's on the 700 Club. You can look that up. Mom prays for Satanist son or whatever, and so that was really cool. And now, so that's kind of catching you up on the church stuff here. In my personal life, all I can say is blessed. And, we're going through the Beatitudes here right now on Wednesday nights. We're going through the book of Matthew, and we're on the
Wait, hold on.
the Sermon on the Mount.
Beatitudes?
Yeah, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you. So blessed are you who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for, Christ will fill you. So we're going through the Beatitudes, and one of the, 9 times he says, blessed, 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 blessed. This is the Greek word makarios, and makarios means highly blessed, highly happy. It's kind of like happiness on performance enhancing steroids is what it is. So I can say Makarios about my life really for the longest time here. That's how I would define my life, blessed. My life is Makarios. Regardless of the things that are going on, I still have that joy. Nothing could take that from me. My 3 boys living in the house, my wife, going on 15 years here next year of marriage. We just recently took my in-laws in, my wife's parents. Mom has cancer, dad is getting dementia. We took them in our house. I don't know nothing about construction. Praise God for guys, the guys in our men's group, because they came over and helped me finish up our basement, because it had to be a hurry. They needed to be in real soon. So we took them in. And because of that, I think we were blessed too, because of our perseverance, and instead of throwing them in a nursing home, taking them in, because what ended up happening was they're like, you know what, we don't need our house. Sell our house and use that money to buy this house you're living in and put it under your name. So we own a house now, completely paid for. Never asked for that, never expected that in my entire life. I didn't expect a lot of things in my entire life, but where I am now. But again, Makarios, highly blessed. An unexpected favor of the Lord. We own our house and we've got our vehicles, and we just took on a dog, my 4th Doberman Pinscher, my 3rd pup. And now that we own the house, it's like, we're going to get a dog now, because we couldn't have any animals. So
sure.
We had gerbils and guinea pigs, but now we have a dog, which is, man, I haven't been this long without a dog other than my prison time in my life, and it's just been a blessing having Luke there, who just turned 26 weeks on Wednesday, and pretty cool. So, and then find out that I could possibly be off probation next April. I had just started a fresh 12 years from a past consecutive charge just a few years ago here, but they said you got to do at least half of that. If you do at least half of that, you can get off. And you said, well, you can go to the judge probably and ask to just be off, and they'll probably do that. And it's like, man, that's too much. And I don't even care about probation. My probation officer was pretty cool, so I didn't mind going in once every 3 months and kicking it with them and doing all that. The only bummer about probation for me is that, because I'm on the road a lot and out of state a lot, I have to get a lot of travel permits, and they're not always there, don't always answer my emails, and sometimes it's a hassle getting that travel permit. So it'll be nice one day to just be able to go,
Yeah, and this will come right at the time that you're going to be off the road. So,
yeah, well,
so you won't even need that.
Not completely though. That's the thing, I'm not taking on anything more, but there's still some things I'm going to do.
What else happens when you that are you looking forward to regarding no longer being on probation? Is there any other, I would say, benefits?
I guess just the idea, because since I was 14 years old, I have either been on probation or parole or locked up. I have never been a free man in that way since I was 14. So the idea of finally, 14, now I'm 57, all these years, I can finally be a free man. And just the concept of that amazes me. And I mean, it doesn't really mean a whole lot as far as, something's going to change as far as, like I said, I can go out over the border if I want to and all that. But the other thing that can be a result of that is I've always wanted to go on mission trips to Africa. I wanted to see Israel, go over in that area, and you can't do that. And I thought, well, once you're on probation or parole, you can't have a gun and all that, even when you're off. And, what about traveling? But from what I've heard, you get different stories, but from what I've heard, if I want to go to another country, it is possible. It isn't up to the United States to let me go. It's up to the country I'm going to, whether or not they want me there. So I've got tons of people that want me to go to Africa, and I really want to go to Africa, and they'll take care of they'll foot the bill and everything. So I've always wanted to do that. But then the Israel thing, I want to do that someday before I get too old to move around and, walk where Jesus walked and the disciples walked and just experience that and see some of those things and see the Sea of Galilee and walk in Capernaum and go to Jerusalem and just, wow, that to
No,
me would
we
just
have an
be
election
amazing.
cycle coming up, and regardless if you vote or not, that's your business. But
Yeah, I don't.
are you able to vote?
No,
Like,
I can't, no.
Is it
But
because you're
I
on probation or because you have felonies?
Yeah, because I'm on probation.
Okay, but
But
again, I don't know this world very much. So it's only the probations, and then you talked about like owning a weapon.
Yeah.
I don't own one.
Yeah.
I hate guns, but can you? Is that a probation thing, or can you get one when you're on probation, or is that no? That has to do with felonies, not probation.
Felonies, yeah, because I'm a felon, I'll never be able to own a gun.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you can vote.
But the cool thing is my wife can and does. But
right,
right
yeah.
now, there's a lot of special rules because, I had contacted my PO at one time, said, hey, my wife she's not on probation. She wants guns. What do we do about
Right.
this so I don't get in trouble? Because I can't even have guns in the house. And they're like, well, as long as she has it in a lockbox and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know what? She just ended up giving them to somebody to hold on to until I'm off probation. Once I'm off probation, we can have the guns in the house. I just can't use them, so. Which stinks because even though I'm not a hunter, I love shooting guns, man. I just do. I love target practicing and blowing up pumpkins and
All right,
everything
so
else.
that's one of the. Okay, this is a whole rabbit hole, but I just have to quickly. So in your on probation, she has a gun. It's locked up, but now she can have the gun in the house, and you can be in the house, but you can't use it. So if somebody breaks into the house, she has the gun. She drops it. You pick it up to save her life, and you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to probably be in trouble anyway, right? But yeah, I'm in trouble.
All right, okay, whatever.
Yep. So there's all that, and my son Dylan, when he was 4 years old, he's like, I want to be a pastor when I grow up, and like, okay, well, dads, kids want to do what their dads do usually anyway, but here, he's 10 now, and just a few months ago, I asked him, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 6 years passed, and I'm like, do you still want to be a pastor? And he said yes, without hesitation. So I went out and bought this program called Little Pilgrim Theology. And what it is, it's kind of a theology course for kids his age, around his age. It's still a little complicated for him, but basically it teaches kids theology and church history and apologetics and all that. So, and it's a daily thing.
What was it called?
Apologetics.
No. What's the name of this? Little
Pilgrim Theology. So that's him and my little thing. It's daily. It's about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes long. We watch a little video, and then we do a little Bible study together and all that kind of stuff. And
that's cool.
Now, lately, I've been calling my little associate pastor here because when we go up and preach a text, I'll have him come up and read the text before we start getting into it verse by verse. So pretty cool. Again, Makarios, highly blessed. Even my friends, I look at my friends that I have now and look at the friends I had back then. If some of us knuckleheads would just sit down and take a deep look at the friends you got in your life, and how unhealthy they are. And if they're promoting anything in your life that's not going to help you achieve your goals in life, you need to drop them quick. And I tell the kids that. I said, there's a fire extinguisher right there, and here's a straight line from where you are to that fire extinguisher, and that fire extinguisher represents your goal, man. And if anything takes you off that path and tries to redirect you, you do not need that in your life. And I'm talking about people. You need to get rid of that person so you can get back on that path. If they're not helping you get that fire hydrant, that fire extinguisher, get rid of them, man, period. But the friends I have now, they're all for me. They're helping me be the person I want to be and go the direction I want to go in. And they uplift and they hold me accountable and they respect me. And man, like I say, when I look back at the friends I used to have compared to now, and that really is the whole point, I guess, of this whole deal. The Brian Cole story is, man, I look back at then versus now, the before Christ and the after Christ. And I am, even though some people try to hold me back in that, even, new POs or whatever it might be, I'm not that guy anymore, man. I am born again. I am a new creation in Christ. That Ozzy doesn't exist. One speck in me, and ain't nobody going to hold me back to that. I'm moving forward. I'm moving in the direction Christ has for me. Apostle Paul said, "Man, run the race like you want to win it," and that's what I'm doing. I'm running the race to win. And the biggest responsibility in my life, and the one that I take more serious than anything else, is being a pastor, because
the one job you didn't want.
The one job I didn't want.
and again, this isn't like you didn't want from like 20 years ago, but we're talking not that many years ago.
Yep.
You still didn't want to, and now.
Now I'm changing everything for that. But the Bible tells me I'm going to be held to higher standards because of my position, and that scares the heck out of me. Because even after 14 years in Christ, I ain't got a clue. I don't know how to do this, and that's one of the things I
feel like none of us do. But
no, right. So huge responsibility, and I take it very seriously to the point where I'm radically changing my life right now to be here more, because we're growing, and these people are my responsibility. I am their shepherd. Say what you want about it. That's what the Bible calls it. And it's just like with a shepherd with sheep, man. You need to take care of the sheep. You need to take care of the flock, or they're going to stray and get hurt and die. And man, that's my responsibility, and it's a huge one, and I take it very seriously.
Yeah, I think the looking at some of our pastors in our area, and you've known a lot of them, but I'm talking about pastors that have been pastors for 40 years.
Yeah.
That kind of, I can't imagine the toll that takes.
Oh.
You would think it's just, it's oh my goodness, you're a man of God and everything's wonderful all the time. It's wow. I mean, wow, 40 years and all that has got to be, that is a huge, I'm going to use this word because I can't think of another one, burden.
Very, yeah.
I don't love that word, but it's similar to that. But oh, my goodness, you're carrying a lot. You're carrying so much. And the emotional part of it, the pressure, the responsibility, the people coming in and talking to you, and they want answers. You have to help them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Most of the time it's out.
I'm just saying that's and I'm not taking anything away from you for only being a pastor for what, 6 years? No. How long have you been a pastor?
Here for 6 years, yeah. I've been in full-time ministry for a little over 10 and a half years.
Sure. So, yeah, not taking away that, but the ones that have been there for, 40, 50 years, those pastors that are, getting closer to retirement. Holy cow. And then what do you do when you retire?
Yeah, well, you don't really retire.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And one of the other side of that, though, one of the things that really amazed me and I just love, you do go to some of these places. I do have some contact with people who have been pastors for 30, 40, 50 years. And it's like, you talk to the people who, especially the older saints in their church, and they just have so much respect and love for their pastor. And it's like, man, that is awesome, because I tell you what, I haven't been in this game long, but there's not a lot of respect for pastors much anymore. And, I don't expect that title when I'm out and about. I don't even expect that title when I'm here. It's cool when I'm here. It's cool if somebody says, hey, Pastor Brian, I'll accept that. Out there, it's like, no, John, just Brian is fine. But that respect and that understanding that, man, our job ain't just about sitting down for a few hours to come up with a sermon, man. I guarantee you, I put in more hours than most people are working
in their job. Right,
60 hours a week, man. That's like 60. That's all you're doing, I used to try and deal with some of the stuff I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
and you're not talking about physical stuff. Mostly, you're talking about
Yeah.
mental and emotional stuff, which, man, gets
That's
draining in your
heavy.
own life, man.
Yeah.
And starts impacting your own family and stuff because it just pours in on you.
That's what I was kind of also getting to with these pastors that have been 40.
Yep.
That cannot be easy in the home life. And you would think that would be, everything would be wonderful because it's a pastor and a pastor's wife. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not saying like all of them are just like a terrible relationship. I'm just saying that has to be, well, as you know, mom being married to my dad was a sheriff for almost 30 years. That's a lot. That was a lot taken out of mom.
Yeah.
Being married to somebody that is in that, well, like you, like
Betcha.
a leadership position.
Yep.
Holy buckets. That is also very challenging for the entire family. Then you throw in the kids and etc.
Well, there's been a couple times a year at least where I'll ask my elders, say, I need to back off this week on the message because I just I can't pour into it because I don't have it right now. I need to get filled. So can you preach so I can get filled? And, so there are a couple times a year where it comes to that point where I just ain't got nothing to give.
And you never get Sundays off.
I never get Sundays off.
I
do. Once a month at least, I always put somebody else on the pulpit just so I can sit back and listen. Or, sometimes I'm out on the road like this week, I'll be in Eau Claire at the Oasis Church this coming Sunday at 10 o'clock. They're doing a thing on the occult and Halloween and all this other stuff. And they've had some warlocks and Satanists come into their church. One even had a staff and he was casting spells in the church. And so they had called me and asked if I'd be willing to come in and talk about this stuff and, maybe even have a word for these guys. And
now, wait, hold on. When you say this week, so it's technically Friday when we're doing this right now.
Oh, yeah.
We air it on Sunday.
Today.
So
today,
it would be, got it. So this, okay, got it.
Yeah. But yeah, I give other people the pulpit once a week or once a month just so I can take some stuff in myself. I need that.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
All right. Yeah. And then next week, we will probably do some takeaways from your whole story. We already kind of touched on some of those things right now, but it's really kind of more like where you are today and, how you've been blessed where you currently are right now. But I kind of want to just peel back all those shows and just kind of, I'd just like to kind of do that, right? Just kind of go through some of those, the big events in your life, that 10 years old and the 12 and then the 14 and then, where was the youth facility place and where was it? That psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, just the whole, I guess, just
touch on a few of these
things. Because not only do I forget, but I think other people do too. And it's not like I want to, put it out there all the time. Hey, but man, you mean this devil worshiping, lying, manipulating, stealing, attempted murderer guy is a pastor now and he loves people? That's, again, we talked about that one of those shows, man. You don't just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what, from here on in, I'm going to be a good guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like that, man. And that's a reality that can only happen through Jesus Christ working from the inside out, man, and radically transforming someone's life and making them a whole new creation.
Amen,
in
brother.
Christ.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to next week's show, but I'm also a little sad that'll be the last one. But the positive there is this isn't the end of us doing stuff together. We just got to figure out what that is.
Got to figure out what that
Still
is.
can't figure out. We'll figure it out. And do we do a
Really,
live
that's
show?
you, Ben?
What's that?
Nothing.
Okay. I'm going to have to go back and listen to what you said. All right, man. Well, thanks so much. When we air this, you'll already be on the road. So
Yes.
we'll check you next week, brother.
All right. Love you, man.
I love you too. Bye-bye.